Okay, so today we're meeting as a reflection of your last observation. We had set goals last week for getting students' attention, and I noticed how you met that goal. You're still using Eyes on Me, and then throughout your lesson, you ask the students, get in your attention, and they respond. They're doing really good with that. I noticed that you used it at different times in your lesson this time, and it helped focus your lesson. And I noticed as well as the attention at the beginning, you've applied it to the end and added a specific routine to the end of your lesson with counting prompt 1, 2, 3, and the students got up, exited the room.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that procedure, we can pass you, or we can move on for that. That was a positive action. Overall of the lesson, how do you think it went yesterday?
It was a rough lesson. They're really struggling with distributive property.
Right.
They're really struggling with, because it's kind of a longer procedure,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them would just as soon not.
Right. Use it.
Some of them they still want to draw a picture,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not. Some of them aren't ready to move past that yet.
Right.
And a lot of them would be perfectly content to just guess.
Right.
So I'm struggling with
Motivation.
motivating them to want to do it.
Right. So I think if we go back and not really focus on the lesson as much, talk about procedures, maybe that'll help motivate them throughout the lesson on adding some more procedures in the lesson. And it may not, and we may scratch it and then talk about specifically distributive property and ideas for distributive property. One of the things that I wanted to have an open discussion is I noticed that well into the lesson that you gave clear directions on raising your hand, raising their hand, but it was well into the lesson. Do you have a specific procedure for raising your hand?
That's something I've been working on. I know myself. In the past I've tended to be kind of inconsistent about responding to blurted comments versus
Right.
making them raise their hand. So I'm working on that as well, and that's just I continue.
Right.
I'm still in the process of trying to fine tune that.
Right, I see that. I think if we kind of develop like a pacing, a consistent routine so that students are aware this is when I can raise my hand, this is when I sit and listen, this is when I do my paperwork, I think maybe their focus might change a little bit. And that's a suggestion for me. This is by no means something that you have to do. One of the other things I thought of is examples for attention getters, like within your lesson. How do you think the pacing went with that question? Did it take a long time? I noticed you had open discussion, and open discussion is good, but I think that also needs to have a specific procedure. So, what do you think about the pacing of that?
Yeah, I think I struggle with pacing. Pacing is not.
Okay. I do have some examples I'd like to show you of different, and you do not have to use any of them, but it's ideas of teachers using different strategies. I use a couple of these from the video that I've watched. I just would like, it's just a few minutes.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and watch. And it's called Brighten and Tighten. So when we get through a lesson, if we have specific things, we can get the kids back on track and maybe refocus. So here's some things that I noticed, and hopefully better. Okay.
I'm going to say ready, set, you say go. 2 minutes only, 2 seconds per problem. Your goal is to finish. Ready, set, go!
All right, excellent. Let's go ahead and get our math around. There's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. Ready, set, fast, fast.
So really picture yourself, Brandon, I can already see it on your face. You are there. Really picture yourself on a roller coaster. Think of actions that you would do that could help someone visualize that you're riding a roller coaster. So for example, one would be that you throw your hands up in the air because we all just did that. picture they are juicy. Pencils up with your partner. Go to work. Voices down. Are you ready? Yes. All right, let's see. Your fraction challenge question. Oh. First one is 2 5/5 plus 3/8. Go to work. There it is, Pepsters, and there it goes. Looking for 100% Monets there. So is Jonathan and Jedzia. I have it here. I have it over here. And I just need one slam. Beautiful. One loud hand. 3, 2, 1. 6. Your pencils need to be down by the time I get to the 1, and your hands need to be in the air. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Put the down hands up. What is the plan?
Excellent. Okay. So you know that you have been brought here today to be part of a special project. I haven't seen you guys for a while, and I have missed you. 3, 2, 1. Done. So for teacher's turn, we'll review a little bit of our ED endings. How many sounds can the ED ending make tonight?
All right, here we go. Pencils down. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, Williams. Rock, paper, scissors, number 1. Everybody on 2. 1, 2.
So they did use this for different teaching strategies, but I thought we might can use some of these for your examples of raising your hand so that they're all in unison, raising their hand, ready to say a response and to receive a response. Like I said, these are some examples. One of the things that I always do to get them refocused to ready to ask a question or to ready to apply whatever I put on the board is, I say pencils up, and they all have to have their pencils up. That's just an example to help them all focus and be ready for the strategy that you're going to be taught. Another thing is like they do the rock, paper, scissors. Everybody ready to raise your hand to ask a question. And 2, I think if we propose 2 specific questions within our lesson, that'll help them and give them a wait time, and then go 3, 2, 1, and then raise your hand. So they did the countdown, they did timing, they did, I think they showed like 5 different strategies. Do you think you'd like to use one of those strategies with the raising your hand?
Yeah. Is there any way you could share that with me so I could rewatch it?
Okay.
Or not? I mean, if you can't,
I
it's okay.
tried, but
It's
I
not
can.
working. Oh, is
I
that
don't
that
that
one?
book. It's from the book,
okay,
so you
okay.
have to purchase the book. But I don't mind leaving it open and leaving it here for you can rewatch it
Okay.
again
No, I'll
because it did go through everything
see if
really
what
fast.
I can find on YouTube. Because,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'll figure out a way to share the video or share it. It's some way to share it to you so you can see those videos of different strategies. I think those were good about getting students' attention, and I think it was applied for just classroom management, but I think we can apply it for the raising the hand strategy.
Yeah. Because,
So-
they did it to get them ready to work. And I've noticed sometimes when it's time to ready to work, some of them get to work and some of them are like, well, let's
Right.
sit here,
Right,
show us in a
right.
minute.
Yeah, she'll eventually show us how it's done on the
Yeah,
board,
so I
right?
like that.
Okay. So let me just kind of go back over our ideas that we've stated, and then I'd like you to set an action step for next week.
Okay.
One of the things that we stated was within the lesson, they really didn't want to utilize the strategy, right?
Right.
And then with that, they were randomly asking questions, and their focus really wasn't on the exact strategy, I believe. They wanted to come up with, like you said, different ways to do it or just not do it. So I think if we focus their attention and apply to a technique for hand raising for response, maybe they all will come together to utilize this distributive property. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Or would you like to address a different action?
No, I think it would have helped. Like I said, I need to work on the hand raising thing because that's something, I'm just really just been inconsistent with. And then I've noticed when I do have them raise their hand, it's the same 3 kids.
Right,
And then, I want to get some more participation with that.
right.
But, I really think yesterday's lesson would have gone better. I wanted to focus on the writing of the equations. I want them to recognize the distributive property equations. And I
Right.
think had I given them a handout that maybe had the blanks and then they were filling
Right.
them, I think that would have gone better.
Right.
But, I do need to tighten up a strategy.
Okay. Let's plan for our next lesson. Are you still going to use the properties this next week? Is that? Are
Yeah,
you
we're
gonna
still,
move
we're continuing with multiplication,
multiplication.
and
Okay.
I'm not opposed to revisiting because they have not
Okay.
even come, the majority of them are not even close to mastering it.
Okay.
So I don't mind coming around and
Coming
hitting
back
it again if I mean, because,
So, would you mind if we try to do the same lesson next Monday then? And we can utilize what you, like maybe a fill in the blank,
Right.
but incorporate hand raising within the lesson and see if that helps. And we can practice the next few days and prep your students. Say, okay, we're going to try a new strategy in class. We're going to, when I do this, this is the time to raise your hand. So I'm going to give you a prompt. You're going to do this, and we're going to raise your hand and practice that throughout this week and see if that helps more cohesive with your lesson as far as the kids on task. Would you agree with that? You want to try that then?
yeah, like I
Okay.
said, I think,
Yeah, we can always critique our individual lesson
Yeah.
all the time. That's why I like us to narrow it down to little things, and then maybe that bigger thing, like knowing how to do the distributive property, will come into play. So, and also, I think that's a skill that you've wanted to work on for since our evaluations and stuff is something that we want to work on. So let's, if you agree, let's set our next action step as raising their hand. And within your lesson, I'd like you to prompt like 2 questions as far as a practice for raising their hand this week. And then we'll see it within your lesson on Monday. Would you agree?
yes.
Okay, can you restate your action step for me then?
I'm going to work on prompting them with having 2 questions for them and working with them on a procedure for when they know to raise their hand.
Good,
Giving
good.
them a prompt for when they know it's time.
All right, that sounds good. And I will work on a way to share this.
Okay.
You might know more here when I stop the video on how to share it, but thank you for meeting with me
Thank
today, and then